is going to be PVZ. I think this Gestalt's played a few PVCs already and won them, so he's got a pretty good grasp of PVZ, especially at the B team level. We'll have to see how he does here. I don't know much about Grez, so should be an interesting match. This will be one I know a little bit more about, being a Protoss player myself.
Yeah, it's our first Protoss, so it's kind of surprising how few B team Protosses showed up, just in general.
Protosses in general, yeah. Like, we had the most Zergs in the league, at least Protoss.
Yeah, I would have never guessed, but it is what it is.
Yeah. All right, you ready to go ahead?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, I'll jump in. Alright. So let's see, spawning on the left here, we have our blue Zerg Grez from Team Beast.
And over here on the right, crossing fields, we have the yellow Protoss Gestalt from CWA. Actually, repping that clan tag, so respect there, Gestalt. Love it.
I've seen a couple of people. I think they were all from CWA with that little CWA clan tag there.
I'm telling you, man, the CWA team has unity. Those guys, they're very active. You know, they've been practicing a bunch, and it shows in their results. You know, all of them have improved. They're playing strong, so props to you guys.
Yeah, Team Euro.
Team Euro.
Yeah, they're doing well. Well, we'll see. I mean, they're on match point now too. They're just one win away from taking out this Team Beast, which is the top two teams here. So.
Yep, and it won't be until the very last week, since team order is basically the same. Won't be until the very last week, essentially, that they're gonna have that rematch.
Yep. All right. So we do see a pylon coming out from our Protoss player right away. I'm not sure about this. I mean, I guess you can do it, but there's two ways. So he's going to put his forge down. He can kind of wall this off and put some cannons here. But there's also two ways Zerg can get into your base. Like, looks like they may have been a bit of lag. They're talking here about it. But Zerg can rush from the front here, or they can go around up top and kind of rush behind. There's an opening there. So generally what you'll see is Protoss open with a gateway first and use a couple zealots to block the ramp, and then just take the back natural. It also saves you money on having to get a forge and cannons up right away, so you can check up quicker.
Yep, no, definitely seen that in a few of the CPL games, but opting for that more standard forge fast expand on this map, we'll have to see if Grez takes advantage of that and tries to go around and do some run bys, or if he just lets it happen, because if you get away with 3 fast bases as Protoss, that's a nice little advantage.
For sure. It could be, I mean, if Grez doesn't punish this, good advantage for Gestalt. He's now going to scout that with the drone and see, okay, he's taking this base. We'll see if there's any reaction from him.
Yep, so it looks like opting for 2 drones after the spawning pool, 2 drones and only a single pair of lings, so going to be playing this in an economic style, getting the faster gas as well, so this is going to be the lair tech, not like a 5-hatch before gas. So really, you know, both players are playing as you would expect standard PVZ, but not this map.
Yeah, interestingly enough, the Zerg actually took the back natural first. I mean, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but there is less minerals and less gas, so taking the front base, especially if you're not facing any early pressure, is not bad at all for Zerg. And then you can just take that free base later.
You know, that's actually a really good point about the diminished resources in that base, and it kind of speaks to just how the game flow goes in general. Like, when you have the option to take the forward base or the back base, the player that has the innate early game map control really can just take that front base. There's no reason not to. So, you know, certainly you want to scout and see that there's not like a proxy 2-gate coming, but Zerg in general has that map control in this matchup. Once you see that early wall pylon, then you're good. Just take that front base.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I don't know if you noticed, Gestalt got the gateway first too, before the Nexus. Almost in all cases, you want to get the Nexus up before your gateway when you're going for a Forge Fast Expand, unless it's like a really early fast build. like a 9 pool speed and you're feeling a lot of pressure, you could sometimes throw that down first. But
Yeah,
he
I
had a probe
wonder.
inside and was scouting.
Yeah, I
So
wonder if he was confident, or if he was wondering about how to adjust based on the map and wanted to just get his zealot production going faster. But I do agree that that is not typical. I guess just by the virtue that he's getting away with this wall, he might go for that fast third nexus and make up for that difference. But it is a little strange.
yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, he is throwing down his Stargate now, so everything's pretty standard. I mean, like you'd see on, say, a Fighting Spirit or something else.
Yeah, and pretty good timings on both of these players. This at this stage of the game, they really haven't been disrupting each other. They've just been playing their builds out, and I gotta say, it looks clean. I would not be surprised to hear if these guys were A-teamers at this moment. So, really props and showing their practice that these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely showing improvement throughout the league. I mean, we're at the halfway point here with these games, so it's pretty good. We'll have to see. Okay, yeah, the Spire's coming out.
Yeah, decent Spire timing, decent Stargate timing. Citadel right afterwards, so like generally very tight builds from both players. I want to see those hatches come down now. Kind of curious to see what sim he's going to use at his front natural. But aside from that, both players have good probe and drone saturation. Decent scouting. We have some spotters, Zerglings at the front. Now you do have to be a little cautious, just because Protoss could potentially do the long way around that same exit you were talking about that makes walling so hard. If you send 2 or 3 Zealots out there, and Zerg doesn't see it until they're at the base, you could do some damage with those. But it looks like there is an Overlord sign of kind of covering that position now, so he might be aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's giving himself good vision. You can see whenever Protoss moves out with anything. First Corsair is out, and I like what Gestalt's doing here. He's taking it out, and he's going to go scouting the Zerg to see what's up. See, okay, does he have the Spire? Does he have, is he doing something standard, something normal, or is he going for something else?
Yep, so great job with the scouting on both these players. I do think that grezerge has slipped up a little bit, so we do see only the 5th hatch is a little bit late. So he's actually banking quite a few minerals, and really that just needs to be another hatch. There's nothing else you can really do with just pure minerals, but drone saturation is good, maybe even a little too good. So the Zealots are coming out now, and he's going to be a little pressed for defense. But the Corsair is going to go down, so that's a nice win. But he knows the Zealots are coming. Let's see what his response is. At this point, you should have some Hydras already, but it looks like he is going to have to make at least 1 colony behind the wall. Although the wall is pretty tight, so he'll probably be okay, especially if he controls his drones for this.
This timing is pretty decent for a speed lot timing. I mean, he's short a couple of Zealots, and +1 is a little ways from being done. Speed just finished now, so he doesn't have +1 in this tack, but I mean, it's still a pretty decent timing. It's hitting at like 730, which is kind of what you want to see when opening this build.
Yep, actually catching Zerg off guard might even be worth it, especially at these levels, versus having that well-timed +1 attack. Because he is coming in before Zerg really has any units. But it looks like the Zerg, or the Zealots at the front are going to get taken down by that sunken / Hydra force, and there's only 3 Zealots remaining. So as long as grezerge runs his drones, it doesn't lose a bunch, he'll be okay. But he is losing quite a few. He's kind of running them back and forth.
Yeah, he's not bringing his Hydras up from his natural to help defend either.
Yeah, now new Hydras are being made, but they're just rallying away. So this is a bit of miscontrol. These 3 Zealots really shouldn't be doing any damage, but they are getting a little bit. Now just targeting this hatchery, so that's giving grezerge some time to bring those Hydras down to defend. Really got to target drones. There's no way they're going to kill this hatch. And doing that now. So getting a couple more kills. So all in all, really good damage from Gestalt. And I think the bigger issue is that throughout all of this, grezerge's macro has just kind of faltered. He's been so conscious about controlling. He's only had the 4 hatches to begin with that now he's up to 1500 minerals. His mining is all screwed up in his main. His tech timings are a little delayed. I don't know what his upgrades are quite at, although looks like he's got the key ones going. But great damage out from Gestalt.
Yeah, and Gestalt also has Templars up now, so even this Hydra Pressure, a counter Hydra Pressure, isn't going to be able to do a lot. The army is a little small, so if he could pick off the Temps early, maybe. But it looks like he's just opting to keep his Hydralisks at home.
Yeah, and Gestalt's
Just doing it.
doing also he's doing a good job with just the 2 Corsairs. He's killed a couple Overlords and he's hunting down some more. Going to expand to that back third quite early, so that wall that he opted for is paying off for him. Was not punished at all.
Hmm. Yeah, like normally doing this build, you see your third Nexus go down around 10 minutes, but we can see he put it down like even a minute earlier, so he's going to get a bigger economy. He's going to have a stronger +2 timing to attack, assuming that's what he's going for.
Yep, and he's got good ops timing as well. So really good tech timings in general. Grezerge is going to have Lurker Aspect about halfway done, and ops are going to be out way before that. So even though Lurkers are still strong and will help Grezerge defend against these attacks, it's not going to be the sort of thing where he can put any pressure on with them.
Yeah, and we do see these Zealots moving forward here to engage. I mean, yeah, he could probably just kill off this group of Hydras.
Ooh, good storm dodge.
Decent storm, even better dodge, yeah.
There's enough in the back. Oh, that storm was massive.
That was a good storm, yeah.
Oh, that hurt so bad. But with this sim and the Sunken to defend as well, nice Zergling flank from the back here. Yeah. I think Zerg is going to be fine from this one.
He did storm a lot of drones there too. Kind of hurts the economy, but yeah, he's going to hold off the attack. He's going to be fine. We see Dragoon production has started now. He's got a couple Dragoons coming out.
Yeah, so I'd really want to see heavy droning and just taking the 4th out from Zerg now. Like when you win a fight like that, especially since your Lurker Tech just kick in, you're going to have some Lurkers. This is the time to expand. And still, not really great drone saturation in the main, so we need to replace those drones and we need to get that 4th going.
It looks like Gestalt is planning on being aggressive still. He's got like a small handful of units pressing in here.
When the rally joins up with this, it's going to be a decent force, but unless you can get some storms off, this is going to die, and you don't want to be trading your army like that.
Okay. Thought he might lose that Templar.
Oh, he's just kind of running in front. The storm he throws out actually isn't that great. The second storm is pretty good on the Zerglings. But yeah, actually the macro failing a little bit for Grezerge here. He only has a single Lurker, and there is an OBS. Yeah. I'm a little surprised that there's no units at all. Actually, these back hatches haven't been used. There they go now. So that was probably a couple rounds of units that could have come out of those.
Yeah, he definitely should have had more than enough to defend this. He had time to get enough units to defend, so now it's actually looking pretty bad for him. Like, the Protoss is breaking through, they're killing all Zerg's units out here. That Sunken's still not going down. With the second Sunken, maybe he can do something, but I don't know.
Yeah, most of these goons are not quite in the fight, so the Sunkens are getting a lot done. Zerglings create very quickly, so now we have a good force of Zerglings here. As long as they cannot get all stormed, and actually not the best storm, kills his own OBS and only maybe a couple of Zerglings, it looks like Grezerge will be able to defend this, but he's taken quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, that was close. Pretty dangerous. It did more than I was expecting it to, but Grezerge's macro slipped up a little bit. If he had those units ready ahead of time, there's no way that attack should have been able to do anything. Yep,
and that's just it. These little macro slips have really been costing a lot in terms of, what his economy should look like and what his army should look like. However he's macroing, he seems to be forgetting about these hatches a little bit up here at the back third. They kind of sit with 3 larvae for a while, so he's getting them now. It looks like he's got 1 hotkeyed because he didn't get the second hatch there. But that's hurting him quite a bit.
Yeah, just make sure you're using all your larvae. Like, you kind of never want to have 3 larvae banked up for long. As they're like, use them when you can. Just don't forget about those hatcheries, right? Producing units. If you had those producing units or drones, you'd be in a lot better position.
Yeah, because once Protoss commits an army like that, if you have the army to stomp it and it does no damage and they trade, they're not going to be able to attack you at all for the next minute or two. So you can just expand, you can pressure their front, it just changes the game. And as it is, with the amount of damage that he's taken, he's had to re-drone. He doesn't really have his hive tech going. He's got hive, but I don't see any hive structures. So he's in a spot where he needs to play on the defensive and try to get his econ back, and Protoss is just free to take a fourth.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of been the story for this game. It's just the difference was Grez's macro slipped up at a few points, and Gestalt was able to take advantage of that and get this lead and get this advantage that he has now.
Yep, hunting down some obs. That was interesting. The Scourge and Obs are just kind of chilling for a little bit. So the fact that all those obs are dead means that this push is delayed. There's another one coming from the main. There's one also towards the top of the map going over, so he could be sent down. But it's a good move because that really does delay. And actually, the Zealot's taking a decent amount of hits. I thought the Templar was going to go down there to just 2 lurkers, but managed to pull it away in time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty scary army here from Protoss too. Like, with only a couple of lurkers buried, only 1 damage sunk in, a handful of Zerglings. Like, with a couple decent storms, I think Protoss might be able to just break the Zerg here.
Yeah, the Zerg needs a lot more, and once again we see a bunch of hatches with three larvae. So that's kind of the story. You know, really good openings in terms of just getting the general builds out, but once the game gets crazy, it looks like Zerg macro just kind of failed a little bit. Needs to practice unit production a little more.
Yeah, honestly, that was the big difference in this game. Just his macro slipped where Gestalt kept producing, and was eventually able to run it over here.
Yep, and now we have a bunch of reinforcements coming. You know, there's quite a few gateways, so this is just going to run away, and I don't think there's anything that grezerge can do at this point. You know, he's lost his front natural completely, and once he loses control of that ramp, this is pretty much game over.
Yeah, I mean, he was able to stop Protoss from getting a 4th base, but he just has so much, and he's still on a 3-base economy, though his main is about to mine out. I don't think he can stop this. I mean, Zerg's down on 2 bases now. He has hive tech, but he's got no units, no anything. He can't really hold the ramp. So.
We're at 30 to 150 supply. That's pretty much game over in any matchup. So it can be a little below, but not quite that far. But you know, it was a good game, and I honestly think that grezerge's macro style will serve him really well once he just incorporates it into you know, more pressure situations. Because his early game build was great. You know, that was dead on.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say about that. Just work on your macro. Remember those back hatcheries are there. Build some units out of that. He would have done a lot better, but now he's just losing all his tech buildings and his hive and everything.
Yeah, there's the GG. Not sure exactly what he was hanging on for there, but that is game 1 going to Gestalt, and you know, really solid play from him. Not too much to critique in terms of how he handled that game.
Yeah, well played. Showing us why he's got a pretty good PvZ win rate in the B team.
Yeah, absolutely. That he knows the matchup for sure.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see if Grez can bring it back in game 2. If Gestalt wins this, then that would give Chobos with attitude the 4-2 win. And there'd be a head 4-2 there. So.
That's true. Yep. So this is do or die for Team Beasts.
I mean, honestly, I think Grez could do it. Is if he fixes his macro a little bit, he could definitely compete and stay on par with Gestalt. And this is like a more familiar map too, so we'll have to see. Maybe he's more comfortable here.
Yeah, that's one thing that you know, Protoss got away with that early third. And he's not going to be able to do that so easily on Fighting Spirit. So it's possible that we'll see grezerge take this game.
Yeah, if he can, you know, deny a third or something from Protoss, delay it, maybe he's in a much better spot. Okay.
So here on the upper right of Fighting Spirit, we have the teal Protoss Gestalt.
And in the upper left, we have the purple Zerg down a game, Grez.
Yeah, so these positions, how's the wall on this position? I know that that's a little different for each of the quadrants.
Yeah, so in this position, top right and bottom left, you can actually make a 1-gap wall, which is pretty strong. I mean, you know, can block it. It can allow you to play a little bit greedier. We'll have to see if our Protoss player opts to go for that kind of a wall. It doesn't look like it. No, okay. To make that wall, you need to put the pylon against the cliff on the right there, then your forge on the left and the gateway above it. A little bit hard to explain, but it does create a one gap wall.
Yeah, and actually, I've been talking with Seriosity a little bit about just doing a wall series, because it is such a big deal, especially in the PvZ matchup for both sides. And Siri knows walls better than pretty much any coach, so be on the lookout for that. Hopefully we can get that going sometime soon.
Okay, that sounds good. So yeah, we're seeing overpool out of Zerg. Pretty standard in this match. I do remember last time, or one time, Shoop and I casted a game of Gestalt on this map, and he put the Forge and Gateway on the wrong sides. But this time it looks like he's doing it right, so cleaned that up. That's nice to see.
Yeah, that's great. Always good to have, specific things that you can point to as improvements. We do see the 2 probe scout as well, so he is going to be able to see the Zerg and potentially harass this this natural a little bit. Although it looks like grezerge just says, I ain't going to deal with that, and goes straight for a potential 3rd base location. But this is kind of the wrong expansion direction.
Yeah.
So he pulls it back.
Oh. Okay, so he is playing aware. You don't want to expand toward Protoss like that. It just gives him an easier place to attack. Send a few zealots to harass earlier on, or closer for the +1 speed timing to hit. It's just you're giving shorter distance for Protoss to come kill you. Basically, you're giving yourself less time.
Yeah. Now I want to point out that does put you behind a little bit by delaying this hatchery. He was able to make the pair of Zerglings and the 2 drones that you would typically make after that hatchery starts beforehand. So you've got slight delay there, and all of these things do compound. And since last game was such a macro loss, those are the things to look out for when you're trying to figure out, like, oh, how did I fall so far behind? It's little things like that.
Yeah. Should also be noted that Gestalt went ahead and put the gateway down again before the Nexus. I mean, you would have seen he only made 2 lings, and it was an overpool. Against overpool, you're absolutely fine to get Nexus before gateway.
Yeah, and especially if you're investing in the 2 probe scout, there's almost no way you're going to be caught unaware. So you can absolutely get that edge by going Nexus first. So both players with slight things that they could clean up. Honestly, it's really great that we can be talking about things at that level for a B team match in week 5. That just shows how good these players have gotten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely see some improvement from players in the league. It's good to see. I mean, that's what the league's about, right? Everyone learning, having some fun, playing.
Yeah, it's great to not have to say, well, you need to make workers, like you didn't make things. So it's nice to have those really specific items to focus on. And both players are now getting into that standard 3 base Zerg, 2 base Protoss. Decent layer timing. Actually looks a little bit ahead of the Protoss's build at the moment. Because he's going to be able to get that Spire started pretty much along with the Stargate.
Yeah, so if both players are going standard, I didn't see what time the core went down, but I know layer and core should be started about the same time. So if you still had a probe in there, you see the layers started as you're putting down your core, you're both right about at the spot you're supposed to be. So
yeah, man, we do see Spire and Stargate started at almost the exact same time. So pretty good. I think the Corsair will be popping out, but not really be able to get much damage. But we'll get the full scout. Generally similar timings that we saw relative to both these players in game 1. And the real difference is that Protoss doesn't have the luxury of taking that fast 3rd. He's going to have to fight for it a little bit.
Yeah, well, let's see how they play it. Yeah, both players going pretty standard here. There's a few zealots coming out. +1 had just started a little bit ago. I think that might have been a little bit late. I'm not entirely sure. I missed when it started. But we do see the Citadel coming down now as well. So he'll be able to get his speed up. Looks like he'll be going for that +1 timing attack. Don't see a Corsair started just yet, though. Okay, there. It started. So yeah, as you said, he's not going to really be able to find damage with it.
This is the point in the build that grezerge kind of faltered last game. So I want to see those hatches come down a little bit faster. Last time that 5th hatch wasn't down and he had a ton of minerals. So hopefully he fixes that up. and we do see that.
Okay,
So that he's not going to repeat that mistake. Drone saturation is real strong, and you have to be careful here that it's not too strong. We do have the Zealots looking like they want to move out. Probe scouted and saw nothing but drones, so he knows that this is an option.
The Lings are just getting free hits, and I mean, he's very well aware now that these Zealots are coming out.
Yeah, and so this is actually a mistake from Protoss generally. You know, you see that the Zerg is undefended, and you're like, oh, I got to do something about this. But you're giving up your +1 attack. Like, you've invested into leg speed upgrade, you've invested into Forge, and the +1, and you're not going to have any Zealots when it's done. So you have to do damage, and Zerg can very easily make a bunch of Speedlings and defend against this. So it might be a good idea in some cases, but a lot of times it's going to be a mistake.
Yeah, if you can catch Zerg unaware, like if there was no Lings out in front of the base, and then you move across, and Zerg's like, oh crap, there's Zealots at my base already, then okay, yeah, you're gonna be able to find some damage. But if Zerg sees it coming across, usually they're gonna be able to make Lings in time and defend. You won't be able to find damage, and then your +1 timing is just gonna be hurt.
Yeah, so in this case, it's kind of hard to say. He may actually snipe the Evo chamber. He's completely stopped mining at this base, so he is getting a lot more than he really should.
Yeah.
But if Zerg can save the Evo and clean this up and get back to mining soon, I still think that this is a win for Zerg.
Alright, he did stop attacking the Evo. He's got a bunch of Lings coming up now. Like, I think the Zerg should have been able to make those Lings a little bit sooner when he saw the Zealots pushing across the map.
Yeah, slightly delayed reaction. Actually losing a couple of drones, but nothing too big. Still delaying the mining, I think, is the biggest deal here.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, there's really no Corsair. I think, did he get it sniped? The first one was sniped, or is it just sitting in the natural?
I didn't notice, actually.
Oh man, this Zealot's still here.
Yeah.
This is too much damage. It really shouldn't have done this much. The Zerling should have been made a little bit earlier and been in a better position. They were sitting in the natural for a little too long. And now we're switching into Hydra production, which is fine. But that was a lot of lost mining, lost some drones. Saves the Evo. So in general, it kind of worked out for for Protoss, but I don't think you should be trying to do that all the time. Like, a better Zerg is going to be just stomping that, and then you're going to be way behind.
Yeah, that shouldn't have done as much damage as it did. If Zerg was a little more on top of it, he could have definitely killed those Zealots off, taken very minimal damage, and just, you know, been fine against the +1 timing attack.
Yeah, so now we see that Gestalt's going to try to do an attack. He's got the +1 upgrade, he's got the speed legs, and he's got a High Templar. But look at how many Hydras are already out for grezerge. Like, there's no way this does damage. Like, maybe he gets a Money Storm, but there is almost no potential that he's getting in on those drones. And we have an Overlord that's spotting this, so, you know, grezerge knows it's coming. In fact, I would really like to see him kind of try to control his ramp area, because if the Zealots can get all the way up, they'll be much more effective.
Yeah, and if the Hydras are all clumped up kind of by the drones, you could just kill a bunch of Hydras and drones here with one good storm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that could definitely change the tide of this battle. And, I mean, he's got a few more Zealot reinforcements in here, and we don't see the Zerg making any more units. Okay, he is now.
Yeah, Zerg was supply block there for a little bit.
Okay.
So that's going to make this a little bit riskier. But still, there's enough. If he brings them from the Hydras from the natural down here to defend as well, there's plenty to defend this. He just has to watch out for that storm. There's a single storm here that could do a lot.
Oh,
and there it is, and it's pretty money.
Yeah,
that's brutal. So that's why you want to control that ramp. You want to make sure that that can't happen. The Hydras from the natural coming in, but they're a little bit late.
Yeah, slow reaction on that. Sure.
But still not too much damage yet. It depends on how the rest of this fight goes. The Hydras are now streaming up the ramp, although actually they're blocking each other, so the Zealots are getting a lot more damage in than they could have otherwise. And we have a second attack at the natural.
Okay.
So Gestalt's trying to just, you know, out multitask the situation, but you got to be real careful. It's not really the same as game one where you're sitting on 3 bases. So if you keep doing this to Protoss, you can absolutely run out of steam. Like, you're fighting a standing army versus production, but you're trying to do it by outproducing, and that can go bad.
And it looks like Zerg's just going to clean this up. He's still sending more reinforcements. Where's Zealots across? At this point, I don't know. Like Zerg's, he's getting a lot of drones here though. Zerg's gonna have a hard time reproducing more Hydras.
Yeah, each of these attacks is actually getting on the drone line, and that's the only reason that Gestalt is doing well here. You know, if these attacks were stopped here at the ramp and like here, then grezerge would be a ton ahead compared to where he is right now. But these units are trying to be donated. You know, as long as grezerge keeps his army in the right position, all of these attacks just die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he hasn't done anything to limit the number of Hydras besides maybe that one key storm.
Should also be noted that the Protoss hasn't started a third base yet in all of this. I mean, the point of getting all these zealots, speed zealots out is so you can take a third base, you know, kind of denying the Zerg once you get Storm out.
Yeah, looks like a single Hydra down there actually denied the probe from starting it. Yeah. And Gestalt is starting to float some minerals, so this amount of multitasking is hurting him as well. But the fact that he got drone damage means that he's starting to pull ahead. So yeah. Really just, you know, grezerge was in position for that to do very little, but unfortunately didn't control the army in the right places.
And he's sending his Hydras now to attack what would be a potential third, but he's going to find that there's nothing here yet.
Yeah, that might actually be a game-ending move. You know, you just need to be a little bit on the defensive when the army's out, because, you know, these pockets of army, if you send all of his Hydras into each pocket, he could clean it up. But now that when it combines at the front of his base, and he doesn't have all of these units because they're over here at the 3 o'clock, then he could just die. So yeah, a little bit of questionable decision making in terms of the army movement.
Interesting sunken placement. Like, he's got this decent Sim City here in his natural, but he placed the sunken out front instead of in behind. I mean, maybe he's trying to buy some time, but I would have liked to see that behind his wall.
Yeah, another pretty massive storm. So once again, he got a multi-pronged attack, and there's army out here doing nothing. So really, just keeping track of the army is a big deal here, and just trying to take it in fights where it's not just going to hurt your drones is so key, because he's not able to afford an army anymore. He's got 5 hatches worth of production, and he's barely mining off of. Well, he's really on one base.
Yeah, I mean, he's losing his third, he's losing his natural. There's not much he can do here. I don't know if he's going to be able to clean this up. Oh, he's doing a good job cleaning it up, but he's going to be so far behind and so damaged from this that I still don't like his position.
Yep, and as you just said, he'll clean it up. All of Protoss' army will die, but he's got nothing mining. So Protoss really kind of play this like a Zerg, where he just streams units and trades them for econ damage. But that's not really the way it's supposed to go. So if Zerg was on top of it, Protoss would be trading army for army, and the Zerg engine just wins that every time.
Protoss is now starting a third base. There's also a lurker here that's just going to be able to deny it. Kind of funny.
Yeah, so good job being aggressive on the third, but I think that's sort of misunderstanding the game situation, where, you know, he needed to be more invested in defense so that he didn't take the drone damage, so that he could then be aggressive on the third. But at this stage of the game, you know, investing anything over there just means you're giving up all the rest of your drones, which is exactly what happens.
Yeah, and I think with these reinforcements that just all sending across the map, we're gonna see the Zerg just leave or GG here.
He's lost both these positions.
All he's gonna have left is his main with a spawning pool, Spire, weakness. So,
yeah, so strong play from Gestalt. You know, kind of risky play, but it paid off. And I think grezerge was prepared on the macro side this game, but really just let that army get in on him in bad situations. He really needs to engage, you know, more out in the open, away from his drones. He really needs to bring, like, when you're controlling this natural and this third position, and there's an attack on one of them, you got to send the other group to go help ASAP. Like, they don't need to go hang out against the fight that isn't going to happen. There's no way Protoss has an attack that can hit both locations. So there's the GG, and that's going to clinch it for CWA.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I felt like in that game, going back to it, grezerge did have a pretty good understanding of like what he needed to do. There's just like a few little things he needs to clean up that would like take his game up quite a bit. Being prepared, having his hydras in the right spot, being prepared, or just macroing in the first game. It's a couple little things he could easily work on and clean up that would improve his game quite a bit, I think.
Yep, because each of those attacks, he took a little bit of damage, and they could have been defended without taking any econ hits at all. And that's a completely different game if that happens.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you find yourself with map control and in the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm. But well played. GG's. Honestly, both of those guys look pretty strong, especially at the B team level. We're looking for promotions, so that might be candidates.